UFC 180, in my mind, is a very big show for the company because Cain Velasquez was injured in training and they had to pull out of the fight with Fabricio Werdum. This particular matchup has a lot of intrigue, even though a month ago we didn't even know it was going to happen.
A lot of people look at this fight and they see it as the classic grappling versus striker because Mark Hunt's knocking people out left and right. Fabricio Werdum, of course, maybe the best jiu-jitsu guy in the world. But both these guys in the last few years, I feel like, have made their games a lot more well-rounded.
It's not just Mark Hunt's punching power in hands against Werdum's grappling, but it also is, can Mark Hunt deal with the length and the reach and the new striking of Fabricio Werdum as well?
The work that he put on Travis Browne was really eye-opening.
I mean, he beat Travis Browne to a pulp, and he beat him with his hands.
You got to buy into Werdum's standout. I think he can stand with Mark Hunt. I never think it's a great idea to stand with Mark Hunt, even if you have improved. You think of Mark Hunt, you think of him knocking guys down and not even falling them to the ground. He just sort of lumbers away because he knows the fight's over, and only he really does that.
That's it! Oh my!
With more time, I would be tempted to pick Mark Hunt, just because it seems like he's that guy that you just continually don't give a chance, and then he comes out and lays the other guy out.
I'm going to go with Fabricio Werdum in the fight. I think the fact that Werdum had a chance to have a full training camp, that he was in Mexico the entire time, training at altitude, that he has the more well-rounded game.
I think he has the advantage on the ground, not that I'm sure it'll get there, but I think it's going to be a great fight, a lot of fun. I would not be surprised if Mark Hunt caught him, but I think the safe bet, you have to go with Fabricio Werdum.
Kelvin Gastelum and Jake Ellenberger meet at UFC 180, and this is a really interesting fight.
Jake Ellenberger, you look at him, he's a perennial top 10 guy. He's fallen on some hard times, but you got to look at who he's fought in his last two fights. Rory MacDonald and Robbie Lawler, two of the three best guys in the world.
You're going to see a big, hungry Jake Ellenberger. He's still trying to prove that he's a contender, so it's a big fight for Jake Ellenberger, and it's a litmus test. Find out exactly what Kelvin Gastelum is made of.
And this kid's 23 years old and undefeated.
He has the fight game. He knows what he's doing in there. Just look who he's beaten already, and he has so much ability.
If you're looking at future contenders for the 170-pound division, you can't make a list without Kelvin Gastelum's name being on it.
The battle within the battle on this fight will be who gets to be aggressive, because both guys do like to be aggressive. Jake Ellenberger, he can counterbox as well, but I feel like both guys are at their best when they're the ones applying the pressure.
And I just see both of them getting rocked at a time, but coming back and really turning this into a slugfest, and we'll see who can take whose shots better.
Really tough fight to call.
Kelvin Gastelum's confidence is just rising, and I think that he's a guy that believes in himself. He believes that he's a fighter on the rise.
I mean, Ellenberger, this isn't a must-win for him, but he's going to be hungry in this one.
I'm going to stick with Jake Ellenberger.
But I think Gastelum has a lot of momentum going. I think he can apply pressure. I think he's going to be the one moving forward in this fight.
Jake Ellenberger's a big step up. I think he's going to find a way to bounce back and take this one from Kelvin Gastelum.
I just think that this is a Kelvin Gastelum fight, and I think he will win it.
Ricardo Lamas and Dennis Bermudez, these are two guys that are a lot of fun to watch, two guys that are at the top of their game right now.
Dennis Bermudez might be one of the hottest fighters in the division.
He's on a long winning streak. The kind of winning streak you would think it would start to put his name in a title contention, and yet it just hasn't got there. And I think it's because he needs a win over a guy who really makes everybody stop and say, yeah, this guy is legit. And I think Lamas represents that for him.
Anytime you get a title fight, you learn something. And Ricardo Lamas obviously learned by fighting Jose Aldo. Now that he's been there, Lamas has had that opportunity to see what it takes at that high level. He obviously needs to get back, and beating a guy who's on a roll like Dennis Bermudez would give him that opportunity. It would help him on the way to getting that next shot.
Ricardo Lamas trying to finish this fight.
Ricardo Lamas, when he fought Hakan Diaz a few months ago, really just picked up where he left off. I mean, he won every round against this guy, and it really seemed like there was no hangover effect. I think that he's going to be right back, and you're going to see that progression again in this fight.
I think if this fight takes place out in the open, Lamas is the cleaner striker to me. I think that Bermudez is the guy who needs to make this a fight of willpower. He needs to kind of break Lamas down.
If I was going to tell an MMA fan, watch a good fight, this is going to be one of the fights that I would say it has to be on your list, because it's guys that are good at everything, guys that are fierce competitors, guys who are in great shape, and they're going to go hard at it because there's a lot on the line.
I think this is about a pick 'em fight. You could go either way.
I've been impressed with Lamas. I like his skill set. think he's still a great fighter. I think he's still just a touch above Dennis Bermudez at this point.
I think it gets drawn into the late rounds, and Bermudez is just on such a run right now.
I just think Dennis Bermudez, he's one of those guys right now that has that momentum and he has that belief. And I think he's not going to let himself get thrown off course. And I think you'll see him win this fight and put himself in position for a very big fight down the road.